Hello, my name is Debbie, Owlandgatorstitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 57. Today is Wednesday, August 15th, 2023. This is a video mainly about cross-stitch, sometimes about what I'm reading and watching and life thrown in, but this week not anything I'm reading and watching because I have a lot to show you. It's been about a month since my last video. I really had intended to come back after 2 weeks, and then I came down with another bout of COVID, and that just sort of threw everything off. I did actually stitch through the COVID this time. It wasn't as bad as last time, but I wasn't in the mood to film for obvious reasons. So if you are new here, welcome. I hope that you like what you see, and there's going to be quite a bit to see this video. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really love all the interaction we have with all the comments and everything else. So I'm just going to jump in and start with my stitching and a little bit of other crafting because I have so much to show you this time. So as I mentioned in my last video, I was going to take an online class with Stephanie from Lindy Stitches and Lois from Lady Dot Creates. So I had stitched a piece ahead of the class and we were making a needlebook. And so here is the final product. So I have almost no sewing skills. And so I was a little bit nervous about taking the class, but that's the whole point of taking the class, is to learn something. Is this perfect? No. But it is, it gave me confidence to try and do things. And maybe I wouldn't do another needlebook like this again, but it just taught me some techniques. So we need to hold this up. So you can see here, this is the top. This is the bottom. There's this that's on there. And then there's sort of the two parts. So this is a piece of felt, and I put in a pin there, or a needle there. And then this part down here is where you put your scissors and then they're tied on. So basically I did the kit version of this. So we got all the pieces. So the pattern and the floss and this piece of fabric and the finishing fabric and the pom-poms and the rickrack and the ribbons, the felt. Scissors are my own, and the needle is my own. And basically then you had to supply things like glue and needles, sewing needles and stuff to finish it. So it was a lot of fun. I learned, I had never made anything like this before. I don't sew. I don't have a sewing machine. I can sew a button on something, but that's about it. But Lois is a really great teacher, and it was just great to learn a lot of stuff. We learned how to do basting and basically the basting, so you can just pull it tight around, in this case, an oval. And it was interesting because Lois obviously is an expert sewer, and she knows how to do a lot of things. And she said if she was putting something on a rectangle or a square or something like that, she wouldn't, she doesn't lace it. She glues it or uses double-sided tape. I can't remember what she said, but she wouldn't be using needle and thread. But she said that's how you are, to get around the edges here. So it was just interesting to hear different techniques. She was talking about people were talking about what kind of glue to use. And she said, basically you can use anything you want it to dry clear. But she said she always gets a little bit nervous if people are using hot glue around the pom-poms because she's just afraid that they're going to melt. She's like, never iron the pom-poms. We iron the ribbons because these were, I think, silk, and I can't remember what the other material is, but nylon maybe, or I can't remember. But she's like, do not iron the pom-poms because they will melt. And she was joking because she said she was watching Teresa Kogut, who would use hot glue on pom-poms. And she's like, they're going to be one big pile of goo. And Teresa's like, yeah, don't worry. So, but Teresa is also a very experienced finisher. This is far from perfect. I've got some puffiness here. The good thing about the class was, even though it was live and you could ask questions, it was also recorded. And I did have to go back. I couldn't keep up with the class. It was just because there are a lot of people who have more experience in sewing who have done similar things to this, and I've never done it. But I learned a lot. I'm glad I have this, and I can now say I made a needlebook. So I'm very happy about that. The following week, I went to another sewing class, and it was in my town, and it was hosted by a friend of mine and a woman who's she's older now, but for many years she owned a cross-stitch store in my town. and she retired about the time that everything was exploding online. But she's very well known in my community, in the cross stitch community here. And so she was doing a felt nativity scene. I don't really decorate my house with nativity scenes, but again, I wanted to learn a new technique. I also wanted to, support my friends who are hosting these things. And so I attended the class. And so in the class, we got all the materials and all the, pattern, felt, all of that to make a whole nativity scene. And then in the class, all we did was make the first part. So this is what I made. I've never made any felt things like this, so that was fun to try and do it. This is supposed to be a sheep for those of you who are like, what the heck is that? Because that's kind of what I look at sometimes. I didn't quite do the ears right to get them pinched and all of that. But we spent, these are all French knots, and it was good to have, someone was there and she showed me how to do the French knots. And I think that sort of in my mind allowed me to sort of, even though I've watched videos and I have all the written instructions, seeing someone in front of me do it really helped a lot. And so, I was like, this is going to be far from perfect, but, we were supposed to do as many French knots as you wanted around here to give the image of the wool. And I just wanted, so it was a great chance to practice French knots and do it on something that's not going to be like displayed forever in my house. And then, so then we put it all together. And most of this is polyfill in here, but then we got some lizard litter to put in the bottom so that it has some weight to it so that it will stand up. And then the little trick that she said is, she gave us a plastic bag and she's like, put the lizard litter, the crushed walnut shells, into the baggie so that they stay together at the bottom. So I did that. I probably will not complete the rest of the nativity set. Again, I don't really decorate my house that way. But it's nice to know that I can do this. I also now have a very nice collection of colored felt that I can do for other things if something pops up. And it was just a really fun day. I would say the only thing that I regret about it is that 2 people came to the class not feeling well. And we are pretty sure that is where we all got COVID, because over half the people in the class came down with COVID. And after the fact, 2 people admitted, they weren't feeling well. I don't think they were deathly sick at the time, but, they admitted they weren't feeling well. And so I'm just going to say, this is my little PSA. If you're not feeling well, take a COVID test. Or if you don't have a COVID test, stay home. I am relatively young. I'm not young, but, I'm not 65 or older. But a lot of people in this class were. And even if they have been vaccinated, they're in a danger zone. And so I think you have to be cognizant of who you're around. And so, again, I had about 4 days of really not feeling well and a few more days of kind of feeling blah and still have some congestion and stuff. So it's not, even though I've been vaccinated and all of that, and I've had COVID before, it's on the uptick again, and especially here in Florida. So, okay, this is the end. Getting off my soapbox now, but, be safe and, like you would with any virus, be cautious. Okay, that's it for the sewing. And now I'm going to go ahead and show you my stitching. So I did last weekend. I managed to recover in time, have my negative test, and I was past the days they say that you shouldn't be around people. And I was able to get on a plane and go to the Grace Notes Fabric stitching retreat, which was held basically in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So I think many of you are familiar with Grace Notes Fabrics. So Corinne organized the retreat. She had a number of helpers, and I was just really excited to have a chance to go. I knew that there were people attending who I have interacted with online for a really long time, and it was great to have a chance to, meet them in person and see their stitching in person. Hannah Dowling was there, and she brought her wedding piece, and it looks amazing on the video, but it looks just as amazing, if not better, in person. I got to meet Carla from Craft Attic K, obviously Corinne and Colleen, her daughter, who they don't really make videos anymore, but she was there. And then her husband, who she likes to call Mr. Grace Notes, but his name is John. He was there as well, and he's appeared in the video sometimes. And then also, I'll show you the piece, but I am doing a round robin. And so a number of the people who don't make videos, but who are in the round robin were there. So it was great to have a chance to meet them. Just so many talented, wonderful people. And I had a really, really good time. I didn't get enough sleep because I was staying up later than usual, and my body, so, but I also said, okay, I can get enough sleep because I don't have to get up tomorrow morning. I don't have a cat to wake me up. But my body was like, it's time to wake up. We don't care what time you went to bed. It's your time to wake up. And so I was, surviving on 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night, which is not enough for me. I like my 7 to 8 hours every night. So I came home and got a couple of really good nights sleep, and I'm feeling refreshed. So anyhow, while we were there, I went ahead and Carla had organized a Welcome to the North Pole sale. This is Primrose Cottage Stitches. I think many of you are familiar with this pattern. So we had the option of, this was sort of prearranged. So if you wanted to buy the pattern and get it kitted up, you could. And we could select our fabric ahead of time. And so I did select a fabric, and then when I pulled it out, it was a pretty color, but I realized it wasn't going to work for this. It was a lot yellower than I thought it was going to be. And obviously with this, you want to make sure with all the white stitches that you have a fabric that is dark enough to see the white stitches. So she had on the first night, she had we got in there, they opened the room around noon. I got there a little bit after that. You could go in. She had the fabrics out, but the store didn't open until the evening. So I went and found the fabric that I wanted. And then I, sort of made a mental note. And then when the store opened, I just made a beeline for that. And that is the only piece of fabric I purchased the first night. And I was the first in the line. A lot of people had purchased a lot of other stuff, were purchasing a lot of other stuff. And the line was really long, but because I'm stubborn, and I was like, I am going to get in line and just buy this one thing so I can get back to stitching. So I purchased, this is 18 count Ada in the color Earl Grey. Because I didn't have all my stuff, I said, okay, I'm then going to do a center top start. It's only about 100 stitches wide. And I had it in my Q-snap. I wasn't really paying attention. So I have a lot on the sides. If I had known, I probably would have pushed it over a little bit. Not that I think this would have been wide enough to really do much on the side with leftover fabric, but you can see there I got welcome to the, and so this was charted in a variety of overdyes. I went for the DMC. I just think the stitching is, most of it is too small to really get any value out of the overdyed. So I just did the DMC conversion. So originally, I think the style was we were supposed to do, Carla broke it up. She said she was going to break it up into 12 pieces. And then we would, at the end, come back next year and I'll have it done. But when we got there, we weren't actually doing that. This is a fairly quick stitch. This is probably about halfway done, or not even quite halfway done with the first part. There are 6 parts. I think it's probably a lot more in the bottom where it says North Pole. And then there's a lot of solid snow stitching. Probably more than I think it is. So, as it always is. So, but I really love the color, Earl Grey. It's really pretty. The white pops off nicely on there. So I'm really happy with that. We also were able to, if you wanted the needle minder, so there's a needle minder to match it. And then I also have here, let's see if I can manage to do this without knocking everything over, as part of my, you could also get a bag that matched it. So this was from Black Cat Stitchery, Tiffany, and she was at the retreat, so she actually had a big bag sale, so vinyl front. So I managed to get this as well as part of, if you're going to join a sale at a retreat, you might as well just go all in and get all the little pieces to go along with it. Okay, so then the next piece I worked on, I really wanted to take this one to the retreat because it was, until I started that one, the only piece I have on Gray Snow's fabrics right now. And so I brought Glendon Place. This is Horn of Plenty, and I wanted to work on this a little bit. So here is where I am. So let me see if I can show a little bit more here. There isn't too much more to show. Here we go. So basically, I did a center start in this because the awkward shape and over around here somewhere is the center. And then I worked my way over, and I am working on the horn. And the reason why I'm working on the horn is that I know it's the most, I don't want to say the most boring part because it is kind of fun to stitch, but it's the least colorful part. And I was afraid that if I did all the pretty colors, I would then drag my feet and not do the horn. So I'm working on that. This is the top. So that's the top of the horn, and it does come down a little bit further here. So didn't do a huge amount while I was there. This is 32 count even weave in the color Andrew. Next piece that I worked on a little bit there. This is Tilton Crafts. This is Aria by Firelight. So Hannah and Corinne started us out a couple years ago. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was Tilton Crafts has a bunch of these ornate scenes in with a piano. This is the one I got with a nice roaring fire, but there's one that's got a pretty summer scene. You got curtains and a window and all of that. This is the one I chose, and I have to say I'm struggling with it a little bit. And I showed the people while I was there, and they kind of understood why. So I'm starting in the upper left-hand corner, as I do on many of my full coverages. And here's where I am. And it's just nothing is really popping out. It's a lot of browns, and I get it. This corner, it's in the photo, it's dark. And so, if you've got, and it makes sense. Like this is the fire down here. And if you got a fire, here, the light is coming out this way. It's not coming out up. And so this part is going to be dark. So I think that is an accurate portrayal, but everything is in shadow and nothing can really be seen. So this is a bird cage that's sitting up there. So I think what I'm going to do is finish the bird cage just so it's done. And then I want to start coming down rather than going across. And that way I can start to see a little bit more detail coming in. It's just been a lot of shades of brown. And when I look up here and you look this far back, you can start to see things emerge, but they still look a little bit blobby. And that's the way I think it is supposed to be. But I want to see a little bit more crispness. Oh, it's hard to say those words. In the photo. So I think if I go down to the fire and start seeing more things in the foreground, I'll get a little bit more of that. So that is Aria by Firelight. Next piece I worked on, it had its birthday in July. And this is from Emma Congdon, her book Cross Stitch for the Earth. And this is Between the Pines. And so all of this green is a fabric. And I had a dark green fabric in my stash that I can't remember exactly, but I was looking for something early on, purchased a few pieces a few years ago. And I purchased a few pieces of green fabric that I thought might go. This one didn't work for that. So I just had it sort of sitting there because it's a little bit hard to find something. And so I thought this would work well. So here is where I am now. The issue that I'm having is this part looks great. Where I'm struggling, and it is coming out a little bit better on the camera, and so maybe that's what I just need to focus on, is that, so here, this is negative space here. In person, this green, well, it's clearly a different color. It's a little bit close to the fabric. And so I'm a bit concerned that it's all going to sort of blend in and you're not going to see it. I think what I'm going to do is continue on up here, and then there's another shade of green here, and see how that looks. And if it doesn't look okay, then I will try and find a different shade of green. Obviously it needs to be it has to be darker than this part here to give the effect. But overall, I really like the pattern, and it's just because this green, while close to the original color, doesn't exactly match it. So this is a 32 count. No, sorry, it's a 28 count even weave from Picture This Plus, and it's called Woodland. So, and I even left this dangling because I just got to that point where I was like, I'm not sure. And I was tired, and I decided I need to pick it up with fresh eyes and work on it that way. Next piece I worked on was Simple Pleasures. This is from Pain Free Crafts, artwork by Chris Dunn. And here's where I am. So I started again in the upper left-hand corner. This is a 22 count. Hardanger, in fact. And so this is sort of the roof, and you can sort of see the thatched hay up there. So not a lot to see. This piece, when I pick it up, though, does go very quickly right now. So it's a lot of fun to stitch on. I sort of, obviously there's a lot of stitches I haven't done here, but even what I have done, you can start to see sort of the texture of this sort of, not hay, but whatever they have on the roof there. The bundles of twigs that are on the roof. So this one, I've mentioned this before, but I had, for every piece that I started by the end of 2022, I put a goal down. And it was not an even like 1,000 stitches on everything. Some pieces were finish it. Some pieces were, get to, if it was in Pattern Keeper, get to a certain percentage. If it wasn't, it might be a page finish for others. It might be do this motif. Everything was a little bit different, trying to make sense in what was the pattern. But it was never like do 1,000 stitches. And it was deliberately uneven because some things I want to give more time to than others. That one, I just sort of said I want to hit 2%. I'm probably closer to 3% now on that. So I've hit my goal. And my goal is not to get this all done by the end of the year. It was meant to be more aspirational. And the little incentive I set up for myself was I'm not going to do a whip parade again until I hit all those goals. And I knew it would take me more than a year. I mean, my average every year is about 200,000 stitches. And I think when I added it up, it's over 200,000 stitches. But I also don't want to say, well, I've hit my goal, I'm not picking that one up again. So my attitude was work on it, hit your goal. If you want to go back and work on it, work on it. But, if you're sort of like trying to decide between something that hasn't hit its goal and something that has hit its goal, do that. So I've hit the goals on things that were finishes. But this is the first one that I've done where the goal wasn't finished and I've hit it. So I'm happy with that. Again, just because we're, in the 8th month of the year, I've hit my first non-finished goal. But, I've been working on a lot of different things. And, the idea is that to give myself a chance to pick up things and work on them. Anyhow, the next thing is that I worked on. This was The Green Dancer, charted by Artisy, artwork by Edgar Degas. This is the classic painting. And here's where I am. So I did quite a bit filling in. I was sort of a combination of taking where I had some ninja stitches here and filling it in. And then I get bored because obviously you can tell these colors are not used in a lot of places. And then I pick up one of these lovely teal colors and sort of work it in. And this is a large printed chart. So this is 11 inches across. It is a bastardized at 2 different Q-snap sizes, so 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 11 in here. So this is 11 inches across, and I can get this whole thing in here, those 3 pages, which shows you, I think, how big the print is on the pages. It's great, though, because it makes it easy to read, because it is a printed pattern, but it makes it very easy to follow. So I am really enjoying this. This is somewhere here, probably where this line is the halfway point. So this has 12 pages, although one page is actually quite skinny, but the bottom 3 pages are almost as much as the pages above them. They're not really, it's not like you've got, 5 rows of stitches and then 5 rows of stitching and then that's it. It's basically a full page. But anyhow, I'm really enjoying working on this. Obviously, it's beautiful artwork. So that is Green Dancer. Next piece I worked on was Huckleberry Farm by the Blue Flower. So I think many of you are familiar with this. I am doing this on a 32 count linen from Picture This Plus. The color is Whimsy. And this is one I would like to get done by the end of the calendar year. So I've got it broken into 12 parts. I originally said like January I'm doing this, February I'm doing that. I have decided that's not the way I'm going to do it. Just makes sense in some ways to work differently. But I'm still like, of those ways I sort of chunked it out, I am doing one of those chunks a month. It's just not in the assigned month. So here is everything that I did. And why? Yeah. Random thread, not even on a needle. I don't even know where that came from. I will say I worked on this while I had COVID, so things like that can happen. I worked on the butterfly, so that is what I worked on. And I was very proud of myself because there are 4 French knots in there. And I have a group of us who each of us have chosen our own project. And the idea is to encourage each of us to work on it. I will say a number of people in that group have chosen projects, but they've already finished them because they just, once you get on a roll, sometimes you want to do it. So you just want to keep working on it. So I've not done that. I do my monthly part and then I put it down. But I think that butterfly is absolutely gorgeous. I think, the blue flower is one of my favorite designers. Janine McGowan is brilliant. And I just love the way this is looking. So this is more than halfway done. That alphabet is about halfway down the bottom page. So basically I have the vines to go straight down and then the motifs on the bottom to finish. So this will, assuming something, doesn't prevent me from stitching, will get done this year. Okay, sorry to take a brief pause there. Move on to my next piece to show you. This is Midnight Vigil, the mini version, artwork by Lisa Parker, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I love the picture on this. So here's all the stitching I've done to date. I just love the way that eye is sort of showing there. And if I can get this in. And here's the part that I worked on. So I just have been working sort of in the darkness up here, brought this curtain down a little bit and brought this over. So a lot of dark colors right now, but this will eventually bring it down and I'll get to the back of that cat's head. I'm doing this on 18 count Aida. It's easy stitching. It's when I'm tired to pick that one up, and it's because it's right now, at least, there's a lot of block stitching, and so it's very easy to do. I pick up black or 3799 and I just, once I make sure the first row is correct, and then it just go down after that, and it's really easy. So next piece that I want to show you, this is Brownfish Owl by Kathy Barrick. This is done like a reproduction sampler, but it is not. It is all original artwork by Kathy Barrick. So I made the decision, and it's got this thing in there that says stitched by someone, and it's got a date. Again, that is just totally thrown in there as part of the artwork. It is, at least as far as I'm aware, that is not anyone, and that date doesn't mean anything. So I didn't really want to put in meaningless names and dates. Like if you're doing a true reproduction sampler, it's an honor of, if you do choose to stitch the person's name in, it is in honor of the original person who stitched it. This, didn't mean anything to me. So what I chose to do, what I'm going to do, is do this as something for my grandmother. So where it has this full date here, I have put in her year of birth and year of death. And there's a little gap there, so I'll put in like a fish or something. And then I think I'm going to shorten this just to one line. I have to just double check to make sure that works. And then I'm going to write my grandmother's name in there. And if I probably need more space, so I'll put some fish in there as well. I have done the math on all of it, so I just have to decide if I want to like my grandmother's name here and put a fish on each side, or if I want to bump it all this way and put fish. Like I have to do a little bit of that, but I have figured out. I've charted it on graph paper. I don't have a software or anything, but you've got a lot of the letters and stuff up there, and it's easy to make up the rest as you go along. So anyhow, here is what I have done. And I'm doing this as a sow with Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher, and she started it as well. And so I am doing this on 32 count even weave from Bestitch Me, and this was a Fabric of the Month Club, so this is called Scroll. And so what I did this time was I still had a few letters to put in here, so I did that, and then I added in my grandmother's birth and death year, so 1908 to 2002, and then I started putting in some of this dark color here, bringing it down and going across. So I kind of got a little, I don't want to say lazy on it, but I when you have to chart something and then you're not entirely sure, sometimes that can hold you up. But then once I sort of charted it and just sort of got going on it, it just, makes me excited that this is going to be personalized. And I chose that grandmother because she loved birds. That's just, I think one of those memories that all of our grandchildren have is my grandmother with her. She would put up bird feeders and she would love to, watch them. And as a child, she lived in a rural area, but older, she lived, in a suburban area. So yes, she had a garden, but it wasn't some huge plot of land. But, she just loved the cardinals and the blue jays and other things that would come up to her bird feeders, and she would just love to watch it. So I think doing it with where bird is so prominent it's a good link to her. Next piece I want to show you is 3 dancers from Stitching Jewels Designs. So this pattern was gifted to me from the designer. So basically, she gift for people who have Flosstube at the time. If I still am under 1,000, but there are other people who are now over 1,000. But she wanted to give a chance to smaller Flosstube channels as a way to promote her work and also to help us promote our channels. So this is a smaller full coverage. The whole thing I think has about 26,000 stitches. So my goal is to finish it this year. So I've got the top part done over here, and this is the bottom corner. So I've just been doing a lot of background. Occasionally I'll pull out one of the colors that was in the dancer's leg or in, that's really a tutu costume of the dancer. But just pulling it in, and I just love the vibrancy of the colors in this one. I don't normally do a lot with orange and yellow, but this was it's been really fun to stitch with different colors and just sort of see that brightness. You hear me with REF by Firelight. I was complaining about all the browns. Yes, this has a lot of background, but the colors are so beautiful that even though it's background, it's still a joy to stitch. And just love the way that this has sort of all come out. Next piece I worked on is another piece from Artisy. This is White Owl, artwork by Kayomi Hirai. And this one I am a little bit stalled at because I am stuck on a bunch of 939 and 823, and it just gets tiring after a while, so I'm a little bit stuck. And so just did a bunch here. I had a challenge where it was put in navy stitches. So, doesn't matter. I'm like, every time I think of navy stitches, I do this. So I pick it up. So I had to put in about 400 stitches. So I just did that. There's the whole thing open up. So it will be beautiful when it's done. It's just because I'm in a part right now that isn't the most interesting. It doesn't get picked up that often. Next piece is Year at Hawkhorn Hollow from Carriage House Samplings. So I have done these 4, and I'm working on the November block right now. So here is where I am. I have no idea what happened, but I know my magnifier, my old magnifier, the clip broke on it, so it was magnified, but I couldn't hold it in place. So this is a 36 count. I think it's Heartland from Picture This Plus, and so I really do need a magnifier. It's a linen to work on it, and I was trying not to because it was just too hard to work on it. I was working on this bottom row here with the black, and I'm like, I have no idea what I just did there. I was so off on like the holes I went in, and it was just, I was like, whatever. I 100% checked this probably about 10 times with the number of stitches, because all of these are 92 across, all my motifs, and making sure everything lines up. So this is correct. So then I came down, ended up frogging this line down here, and so I've just sort of said, yeah, so you can see that's just going to hang out for a while until I make sure that like these are the motifs down here on this hill. I want to get all this done, and this is solid yellow stitching, so I don't really care if all the yellow is done, but I want all this done so I can just be confident that this is also 92 at the bottom, and I haven't somehow made stitches that are 3 across or 1 across or whatever. Every 2 holes. And I know people say, well, once you go in, I can't see the weft and the warp without a magnifier. And even then, sometimes it's hard. It's just not, the way I stitch. So, but this has, I got this turkey, good amount of work done on this. This turkey is done. And then some, and then if like the color was in the turkey here, so it came down some of it here. The acorn caps, a couple of more letters in November. So I mean, probably more than 1,000 stitches since the last time I showed this to you. So I'm making good progress on it. Okay, so next piece is the round robin I was talking about. So this is Haunted Mansion from Tiny Modernist. So I had a chance again to meet a couple people who I'm doing this with, and that was a lot of fun, including the person who organized it, who's sort of kept us on the straight and narrow, which has been great because it's never easy to deal with 9 people with 9 different schedules in different places and all of that. This has been a lot of fun to work on, and we all did the frame of the house and like the moon and stuff, and that was some hefty stitching. But I think what I'm finding when I pick this up to, while there are in like these rooms color changes and stuff, there is not been, it's not been, it's not like it takes a week to get the stitching done. It takes maybe a day or two to get the stitching done. So here is the room I chose to work on, and we literally can pick whatever we want to work on when we're working on this. It doesn't, it's not like the first month everyone works on this room. So there may be towards the end that I have to duplicate some of the rooms or the pieces on the side. I'm okay with that. But so far that hasn't happened, and I've already gotten the next one, and I can see there's spaces that I haven't worked on either. This is the room I did. So you've got the Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, and then these potion bottles here, and a lot of fun to work on it. So that is what I worked on for Haunted Mansion. So now I can pack this up and send it on to the next person. Next piece is Old World Map by Artisy. And I meant to pull it up, but I don't have it pulled up right now. So I was watching an episode of Supernatural, and they actually had the artwork, like the original art or a print of the original artwork. They were in some like pawn shop or something, and it was over the guy's shoulder. And I'm like, I had to stop and take a picture of that because it was just sort of hilarious. I don't think I was actually working on it at the time, but I just sort of laughed because, to sort of see the artwork that you're working on in a TV show about monsters. When you're not painting monsters, when you're not like stitching monsters, it was just kind of amusing. All right, maybe I'm the only one who finds that amusing. I don't know. So anyhow, I have now this is the North Pole. All the stitches over here are done, and obviously this is the center point of the pattern. Of the width of the pattern. So I've done all this over here and have done a good amount here. So obviously I still need, you can tell this is a little bit pale here. There are quite a few stitches in here. But because most of the colors over here are used here, most of like the ocean and the latitude and longitude lines are done. And a lot of the sort of ring around here is done as well. So I've been sort of pulling colors here and then, a little bit over here. So this is starting to get filled in also. And yes, my needle is just hanging out there for some reason. I don't know why. Got to figure it out. Anyhow, but so really loving this one. Always inspires me to travel when I go, although I really don't have much desire to go to the North Pole because I'm a Florida girl and I like warm weather. When I went to the retreat, it was probably like in the mid 80s, and people were like, "Oh, it's warm." I'm like, "Oh, this feels so good." We've been under an extreme heat advisory. It's been like in the upper 90s, and so it's been warm and humid here. So I'm not saying that 85 isn't warm, but after doing like 98, it felt good. Next piece I've worked on, or I want to show you, is Portrait of Veronica from Mirabilia. So that is my next retreat. I am going to the Queen City Stitch Retreat, which is a Nora Corbett retreat. So Nora Corbett and Mirabilia. So this is where it is now. So this is this is the bottom of the dress, and then this is sort of the back ruffle or ruching or whatever that came around here. Bustle, whatever you call it. So I spent most of my time working on this. Really love the colors as they're coming out here. I still have, I think, one more color that goes right in there, and then it will come up here. I'll put a little bit in there, and then I'll start working over a little bit here until I get ready to move the Q-snap. So just loving the way the colors are coming out in this. Nora Corbett truly is an artist, and she really knows how to use color. This is not that many colors, and just the way that the dress textures and stuff really comes through. So really enjoy working on this. And the last piece I'm working on that I have to show you, no surprise, is Cats in the Toy Box, artwork by Leslie Ann Ivory, charted by Heaven and Earth Design. I am now over 90% on this. I am so excited. So here is where I am now. So basically, I originally, I think last time, said I just want to get this part done and I'm going to move the Q-snap. And then I really, really only want to move the Q-snap. Like when I move it, it will be the final time. And I realized that I wasn't going to, if I moved it at the beginning of August, I wasn't going to get the whole area. You can't really see it there. Let's see if you can sort of see where that goes here. I wasn't going to be able to get the whole thing in. So I decided to spend more time. And so I will probably come all the way over to here and get this done. But anyhow, I worked a little bit more on the basket, on this wood piece here under the horse, on the saddle, getting more of the horse done. You can now actually see, like, this is the horse's ear and his mane, or her mane. This is a genderless horse. And working on getting that done. Obviously, I have the wheel to do down here and pulled over the border a little bit. So just loving this piece. I did take this to the retreat. I know that a number of you were there, and I knew that this is sort of my piece that I've been working on. So, and I also knew there were a lot of full coverage stitchers there. And so, we all love to see other full coverages that are more than like a corner of a page. Like most of the things I've showed in this, but to see things that are like getting close to their end. So I was so excited to take this. And even though I only worked on it one evening, so I didn't get in that many stitches while I was there, just, everyone was like, did you bring Cats in the Toy Box? And I was like, yes, I have it. So, and I'm so excited that I'm getting, like 90%. I mean, that still means I have over 14,000 stitches because I think this has 141,000. So I probably have about 14,000 less because I am now getting close to 91%. But I'm just so excited that I'm really getting to that point where it's on the home stretch. And it's about 3,000 stitches a month that I need to do in order to bring it to December. But I can see at some point that I just don't care anymore. And I'm going to do a lot more than 3,000. So this may be done well before December. We will see. So that is Cats in the Toy Box. So that is all the stitching I have to show you. And we will, my plans as always, a lot of it will be dictated by my various challenge groups. I do know that I'm going to work on Magic Study by Magic Study from Hade because that for one of my challenge groups has gotten called, so I need to work on that. Other than that, I will continue work on my focus pieces and then pull out either what speaks to me or as things need to meet challenges. So having a lot of fun with my challenge groups still. I did drop out of a lot of them a few months ago, but the ones I stayed in have been really energetic group and it's been a lot of fun. So now I am going to show you what I have purchased, and I have quite a bit. So I know that's not everyone's thing. So if you are stepping out now, thank you so much for watching me. And if you are here to see the haul, I do have quite a bit. So especially since it's been a month and I went to a retreat. But the first couple things I have to show you are not related to the retreat. So the first thing I have to show you, when I went to that sewing class where it was the nativity scene, they had like door prizes and everyone got a door prize. Just when you remember what it was called. So I picked up this little kit, this teeny little kit here with the stitching, and then it comes, we've got the piece here. So that was what I picked up from as my door prize. So then I was on a Zoom, I think it was on one of the weekends for 24 hours of cross stitch. I'm not entirely sure. I don't do 24 hours of cross stitch. I stitch a lot. I don't need to have set aside time to make sure I stitch 24 hours within a certain period of time. But I love the idea of it for people who have very busy lives, and it's nice for them to take time and enjoy their hobby. But while I was on that Zoom call, because it doesn't stop me from talking to people, everyone's invited, whether or not you're participating in 24 hours of cross stitch. So this was hosted from Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher, and people were talking about a company called Stitch is So Beautiful. She has an Etsy shop, and a number of Flosstubers have sort of discovered her and been talking about her. So her name is out there, And someone said, well, let's do a sal of her pieces. So I think Labor Day is when we're starting. Beth, the Steadfast, I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying your Flosstube name, Beth. Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher, and a couple other people are hosting a sal. And it's just pick any one of her stitches. So I purchased 2. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful things, but I limited myself to 2. So the first one is, this is Wizard of Oz Stained Glass 3. I'm sure there may be 1 and 2 there, or maybe not, but this is the one I liked. So they are relatively large full coverages. They're maybe not the supersize Hades, but they're pretty big for Hade. This one is 400 by 400. And then the other one that I purchased, so this is Van Gogh Cat. And these, the artist for both of these is Sphinx Design Studio. So she's using licensed artwork. I was like, what is Sphinx Design Studio? I did look them up, and they also have an Etsy shop where they sell prints and other things of their artwork. So I think, though, for the sal, this is the one I'm going to do. And it's not that the other one isn't beautiful, but you all know I have so many cats. And this is a little bit different than some other things that I'm working on. So I think this is the one I'm going to do for the sal. I also, from that, Beth would periodically do giveaways. And so I won one of the giveaways during the Zoom call. And so this is a piece of Bestitch Me. It doesn't seem to have a color name. This is a 40 count linen. So sort of a brownish color. So that was lovely. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to what I got at the Grace Notes Fabric Stitching Retreat. Because one cannot go to a retreat hosted by a fabric dyer and not obtain a lot of fabric. So we did get swag bags, and there were a number of things in the swag bag, but I did not. But then also, like, in those bags were things that you purchased, and so some things, some of this is. So this one is, I think everyone got this. And this is a 32 count. 28 count linen, and it's a fat 8. So lovely sort of pinkish color. So I think everyone got this in their bag. I think this was part of, the swag. And then this next one is this is what I thought originally I wanted to use for the Welcome to the North Pole sal, but you can see it's really yellow. The color is actually white peach tea, and this is a fat quarter. There are some undertones of peach here, but I'm sorry. It is, I'm still getting really washed out. It is very yellow, and I just didn't like it. This is great for a spring or summer piece, not really great for a Christmas piece, in my opinion. So that's but it's a lovely fabric, and so I will use it for something else. That is an 18 count Ada. Next are pieces that I purchased, not on the first day, but on subsequent days when the lines were, she had so much fabric. So if you had your eye on one specific color and you needed it in that color and count, that's what people were doing the first day. But and then the second day, people were, as soon as the store opened, and it was not open all the time. The fabric was all in the room. You could go look at it anytime, but she was only open for sales, for 7 or 8 hours a day. So, but it was not the stitching room opened at 9 and stayed open until midnight. At 9 in the morning, the store was open usually from noon to 7 or something. So, what I did buy was, this is Peaches and Cream. I'm just trying to pull back 32 count Lugana. So this is what I thought something called white peach tea would look like. And I thought this would be good for the sal. I did not, I wanted to do that sal on Ada, given the style. I thought I would prefer to do it on Ada, and I don't think she had this in Ada's, which is why I went for the Earl Grey tea, which it's Earl Grey fabric, which is a beautiful fabric for that, probably better than this would have been. But I did really like this fabric color, so I bought a piece of that. I also bought, and this is 18 count Ada. going to put my glasses on so I say the name right. Jamie. So this is a lovely sort of grayish dark blue. So this is an 18 count Ada. Lovely. Next one. This one I wasn't going to buy. And then a woman, while I was perusing the fabrics, went up to the first day also, you can only buy the cuts that were on display. She wasn't cutting fabric, but then she said after, like, if you want, she had a lot of full yards, and she's like, I know you don't always, many people don't want a full yard. She's like, I will cut these down on the other days. So she, so while I was there looking at the fabrics, I basically made my decision. Some woman showed up with a beautiful purple fabric, and I was like, yeah, I got to get that. So although it turned out this is not, it's very similar. This is Nancy. That one was actually Elizabeth. And I can't remember if Elizabeth was dyed twice as long as Nancy or Nancy was dyed twice as long as Elizabeth. But it's a lovely purple fabric. And the woman was what she was doing was doing it for a Halloween piece. And I thought this would also be great for a Halloween piece. So even though I don't have such a huge amount of Halloween, I still thought that would be a great fabric for it. So I bought that. And then the last piece I bought, this is Louise, and it's a sort of light turquoise with gray modeling. Absolutely beautiful. I really, really like this. I need to do a thread, a floss toss on this, but I am thinking about using this for Queen of Freedom. So I absolutely think this is a stunning piece of fabric. So that is all the fabric I purchased. I did not purchase any other patterns. She did have some there. There were quite a few. There were some trunk shows. So Arlene Cohen from Works by ABC was there. There were a couple, I don't know if the designers were actually there, but there were a couple other sort of trunk shows. I didn't buy anything from those. But she also then had, a lot of artists with freebies. Unfortunately, they gave us, as part, we got a lovely bound book with all the patterns in here. So not loose leaf. There's one and they have models of all of them up there. I'm looking for the one. I will hold it from a distance. Needless to say, it's a cat, which is why I liked it, but it's not going to pop up, of course. Yes, here we go. I will hold it all the way back here. It says, perfect. Or I can't purr. I'm not a cat. Perfect. Together and forever. And you got these kitties and stuff down here. And the model was really pretty. So really like that. They also had like fun games. So we had like a bingo and a scavenger hunt, crossword, and if you completed those, like there were door prizes, and so you got in your swag bag tickets, and then also if you like played the games, you could earn more tickets. So I did win a prize from that, which is not going to. I'll show you when I come to it. Okay, so then I also purchased some other things. So this is the bag. You can purchase this ahead of time. This has got vinyl in here. I've already got stuff in here. But this is the official bag of the retreat. So you could purchase this. So I did. And this is from Tiffany at Black Cat Stitchery. And then this I did not purchase, but Carla Craft Edit K, who also was one of the sort of organizers, or helping out Corinne a lot. I won a bag also from Tiffany at Black Cat Stitchery. So look at that's the pattern, and then here's the inside. So Carla, I said, don't mail it to me, just bring it to the retreat. So she kindly did. So, and then of course there was a freebie table. I have never been to a retreat that had a freebie table this full. Now I've not been to StitchCon, so I've heard StitchCon also has like groaning tables full of stuff. But I brought some stuff for the freebie table, but I didn't. I've got sort of a little pile now of patterns that I've gotten that I'm like, I'm not going to stitch these, and they're not exactly best things for giveaways. So I'm like, I'll take them to the retreat. I didn't take them all to this retreat simply because, I was on a plane, weight restrictions, all of that. But I give to the freebie table, the freebie table giveth. So one thing I got was this kit. This is Elsa Williams. I have to say I've not heard of her, but lovely rabbit, lovely sort of scene. And it is full kit with all the floss and everything in there. Next one was a Riola's kit. I didn't open it up till I got home. Beautiful picture. Whoever put this on the freebie table, they had done it, so the fabric was gone, which was fine. Obviously, it's not that fancy of a fabric. But one of the reasons why I picked this up was I really wanted to try Riola's. Everyone talks about their kits, and there's a lot. The jury's out on whether or not it's great using the fibers that they have in there, because they don't use cottons or silks. It's a wool blend or something. Excuse me. And so while some of that is in there, I don't think it's enough to do the whole pattern. I will take a look at it. So I may sample it and see if I like it. But I can obviously just color match and do DMC on this. There is enough of every color left, I think, that I can probably color match for DMC for this. So that's really pretty. Okay, I did win a door prize. I will say it was, I put my tickets in a lot of things. This, if I had my choice of every single door prize, this may have not been my first choice, but nonetheless, I put my ticket in there because I liked it. And this is 2 Bs and ABCs. So this is Rosewood Manor. So this is what I won from the door prizes. And then they also had this little chatelaine there. So a pretty lady chatelaine, not the mandala. And then also this, just Leisure Art, Paula Vaughn. And then the Better Homes and Gardens Christmas Cross Stitch. I looked through this book before I took it because it obviously, you can tell by the way the little girl looks, she's very cute, but you can tell this is a bit dated, I think. The year isn't popping out on me, but 80s or 90s. But there was one pattern in here, which of course as I flip through probably won't pop up quickly, that I really liked. Okay, there's the... Here we go. This one here I think is really great. So, there are some other pretty things in the book, but I doubt I would stitch them. But this one, and they also give, this is one of those one of those panels pulled out here and then done here as well. So there were a lot of gifts that were given. I'm not going to go through all of those. There was one I really wanted to pull out, but it's hiding somewhere in all my lovely goodness. But I will say that, I will say someone gave me this lovely box. She didn't give these to everyone, but she did give me this lovely box filled with some stitching notions and some other goodies, which I have not eaten yet. I was, some chocolate and some other little candies. But the person who gave this to me, thank you very much. I will also say that there was a quilt that was made, that someone made. And it was sort of a breast cancer awareness quilt. It was absolutely beautiful. And that was not a door prize. That was a raffle. And all the money. So the person who made the quilt donated obviously her time, but all the materials. So she didn't get, so then people could buy tickets for winning that, but she didn't get any of the money from that, even just to even pay back for the materials. All of the money for that went to 2 charities. One related to breast cancer, one not. And they... and quilt was absolutely stunning. There was that. And then as she did there were words as she actually quilted, there were words that were written in there and stuff with the thread of the quilting, not just printed on the fabric. So it was absolutely stunning. But then she also, on top of making that gorgeous quilt, gave us all little needle books as well that she had hand sewn. So there were about 80 people at the retreat. So that was, one needle book doesn't, doing on a sewing machine doesn't take a huge amount of time, but to do 80, and they were fabulous. It wasn't, there were needles and other things in there as well. So to the person who made that, you know who you are. Thank you so much. That was really beautiful. But also, I got, floss drops and counting pins and floss and other things. There were just so many goodies that were handed out. I didn't have enough to hand out to everyone, but I did hand out this time. I did manage to hand out to a few people like little goodie bags that just had tea and candy in it, in orange and blue in honor of Gator. I also did not have anything that identified that it was from me. So if you wondered if that showed up on your table and you wondered who it was from, that's me. So anyhow, that is all I have today. It's already been an hour, so I'm not going to talk about anything I've been reading or watching. So I hope that if you stuck around, thank you so much, and happy stitching until the next time. Bye.